Peace, peace, peace. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. For those of you who don't know, it's your boy Vic Slane Hope. I got another video for y'all. In this video, I'm going to be discussing the 11 reasons, the 11 things if the woman that you are dealing with has, like, get rid of her, homie. Like, just on to the next, replace her. Now, they might have one of these things, maybe two, maybe three, you get it. But if she got all of these qualities, yo, get rid of her. I'm telling you. Save yourself the suffering. Number one, a lot of sarcasm. Now, we know a lot of women, they sarcastic with a lot of shit. Like, that's just the shit that they do, right? Men don't do it too, but anyway, the point of this, sarcasm is cool sometimes. Sometimes, you know, people be sarcastic to be a little funny, you know, or maybe in a duh moment, like, you didn't know that, like, but when you overly do it, when you do it a lot, sometimes is a representation that is something else going on. A lot of times, women use this when they are irritated with you, and when they feel contempt towards you. Like, they will continuously over and over and over use sarcasm for everything, and it starts to get annoying. So if she displays a lot of sarcasm, that's one of the signs, right? Number two, she's emotionally needy. Now, I don't want to say nobody wants to be with a needy person, but like an emotional needy person is very, very, very draining, right? Like, because they constantly need reassurance. They are a person that is dependent. They're solely dependent on you and others to kind of like reassure them, to make them feel better, to make them feel good about themselves. They always like in a state where they're always like down. They're always, you know, sad. They always feeling us. Their emotions just be mixed, and like they always want somebody to make them feel better about themselves. That shit is very draining. And yeah, I don't think you want to deal with that. That's sign number two. Sign number three, rude to strangers. Now, if you take a woman, especially like waiters and stuff like that, like some people tend to like want to be rude to waiters or rude to the janitor or rude to certain people that have certain jobs. But overall, if she just rude to people, it says a lot about her mannerisms, right? Like, who raised you? Because, you know, if you was raised in, I'm not trying to blame the parents, but a lot of times you just start thinking about their mannerism and the characteristics and their morals and principles when you just constantly just rude to strangers. Like, they don't even know you. They don't, you know, they probably never did anything to you, and you just talking to them a certain way. So this is reflective of a lot of times, you know, this person's character, right? Number four, if she believes that all men are jerks, right? Like, we hear this a lot of times. We hear a lot of women running around here with the narrative of all niggas ain't shit, right? Like, we hear that shit all the time. If the woman that you're dealing with constantly makes those remarks, it's a red flag, bro. Like, it's a red flag. Like, she's, even if she didn't deal with it, like, that shit get ingrained in your mind. When you constantly repeat certain things, you start to believe it, right? And then when you start to believe it in your subconscious mind, you already have that, so you're going to be operating from that. So even when you get into a relationship, in the back of your mind, you're saying that all niggas cheat, or all niggas ain't shit, all niggas is this, all niggas is that. So in the back of your mind, you already believe in, you already basically have a scenario in which this relationship might be destined to fail, because you already have a certain belief, a certain perception about all men. So be wary of that person. That's not somebody that you really kind of like want to deal with. Number five, obsessed with social media. Now, we living in an age that people in general are like, they just can't seem to put their phone down, and social media seems to be like the biggest proportion of our time online, right? Even our time throughout the day. Like, some people be spending like I had days where I spent like 7 hours, and I was like, yo, I need to cut back. So social media, a lot of times our women, our sisters, they love being on social media. Whether they looking at makeup, whether they looking at wigs, whether they're twerking on it, whatever they looking at, right? It's constantly consuming them. And I think because women, they get a lot of their beauty standards by why other women are sharing. They also be sharing and liking a lot of other toxic comments, which again, it goes into your subconscious mind and can affect your relationship. So a lot of these chicks be getting counseling from social media. So if you're, for me, for example, I don't watch television, and I try to stay away from social media. That's probably like the most thing I consume. But I don't like being on the media. I don't like doing certain things because I know what that does to the mind, and it programs it. So a lot of our sisters are programmed because they spend so many hours on social media. So Some people even go on dates. They can't stay off the phone. They be in your presence. You know when you're supposed to have a long time or whatever, and they just can't stay off the phone. Some of y'all experience this. You constantly gotta tell your girl or your shorty like, yo, can you like put the phone down? It gets annoying, and a lot of times, like I said, a lot of these people are getting counseling and toxic advice from social media. So if she got one of these quality, yeah, you probably don't really want to deal with her. The next thing is number 6, I think. Number 6 is she never talks about her past or talk too much of it. Right now, you got some chicks, they got shit to hide. I mean, a lot of us probably got some shit to hide. But I think honesty is the best policy, right? Like, if you go into something, I think that you should let somebody know the truth. Like, especially if they ask. Like, if somebody asks you certain questions, you should be real with them. Keep it 1,000. You know, because at the end of the day, if they don't want to fuck with you based on your past, and your past happened to come out later on because you lied, they're gonna leave. So you better off just telling them the truth about you, tell them everything, not every single thing, but of course, you know, just tell them what they ask, like, you know, because people want to know and how they're gonna fuck with you, right? So I think it's important. Another thing is, or talks too much of it. Some people, they just constantly talk too much of their past. They constantly talk about all they old boyfriends and what all they old boyfriends took and what trips, where they went, the sex, the this, the that. Like, some women just be overdoing it, overdoing their whole past shit, right? Relationships, experiences, what dudes did for them, they just overly talk about it. So if she never talks about it, it's shady. But if she talks too much of it, that's also a problem. So try to seek that balance. Number 7 is she never takes accountability, right? And this is a big one. Because a lot of women, it's hard for them to take accountability. It's hard for the black community, but we talking about women right now. It's hard for a lot of women to take accountability. You hear it all the time on social media. Men are always getting the blame when the relationship ends. It's rare when you see women say like, it was my fault, I was wrong, I was the bad one in the situation, I was a toxic one, I did this, I did that. It's rare when you hear that. What you usually hear in droves is blame on the men. The man did this, the man should have did that, he should have. We see it all the time. So, and another perception that no accountability gives is that a woman is perfect. It gives this idea that like, if I'm not accountable to nothing, that means you're perfect. That means you didn't do anything wrong. That means you're a victim. Everything happened to you, which is the narrative that usually happens out there in our societies. So if she has this quality, that's another strike against her. Number 8, no flexibility. Now, flexibility, a lot of jobs, when you go on job interviews, they ask you, are you flexible? Do you have flexibility? Meaning that sometimes plans change. Sometimes situations change, and you should be able to be flexible. Sometimes you have your mind fixated on a specific thing, or maybe you have a certain train of thought or a certain way that you think, but you should be able to be flexible. You should be able to be taught. You should be able to change your mind, change your behavior, right? Because sometimes, you know, we be doing a little toxic stuff for sometimes, so we get around somebody else and they teach us and they try to put us on game, and we should be able to change. We should be flexible with our ideals, with some of our thinking, right? So if she's not flexible, if she's on some like, I'm not settling, you know, we hear that shit all the time. I'm not settling. Like, some of these things, you have to be flexible with certain things. I don't tell nobody how to do their standards, but some people's standards are delusional, are unrealistic, and sometimes you have to be able to be flexible and be able to, you know, adapt and change certain things. So if she doesn't have this quality, that's another strike against her. Number 9, expects she needs to be treated like a princess. You know, back in the days, the princess, right, she belonged to the high nobility, because the princess is, you know, the daughter of the king. And, you know, so the princess gets treated a certain way. She gets certain perks. She gets the best of the best, right? And a lot of these women have this mindset of, well, I'm going to say something. Some of these women have the mindset of, I deserve princess treatment. So she deserves the best of the best. A lot of times she's not going to be appreciative of the small things. A lot of times she's not even going to, again, be flexible with like, oh, we had a reservation for this restaurant, but maybe it was packed. We could probably go to this restaurant. And she's like, no, because maybe this is a lesser value in her mindset. So again, if she expects this treatment, a lot of times women expect to get certain things without having to offer anything in return. For example, that's why I always tell you, reward good behavior, you know, with good things. If a woman is good to you, be good to her. If a woman is nice to you, be nice to her. If a woman do certain things for you, then reward her, right? But the whole expecting princess behavior for nothing or just off the gate, nah, this is negative. That's an X for her. Number 10, she emasculates you. Now, I made a whole video about this, right? How women emasculate men. And they do this a lot because men are physically stronger than women. So what women do, their power comes from their tongue, right? Trying to get at your heart, right? Trying to like get under your skin, trying to emasculate you, make you feel less than a man. And some of the things that they do to emasculate us, they will talk about sex, right? A woman might, this is what they love to talk about. Oh, you never made me come. Oh, your dick little. Oh, yo, this and that. Like, you know, this is the things that they do. They talk about sex life. They talk about money. You broke. You ain't got this. You can't afford that. You know, because they know men are insecure about these things. And another thing that they do is they compare you to other men. They're constantly like, well, my ex didn't do this, or Sandy's boyfriend, he ain't treat her like that, or he bought her this car, or he bought her this. So they try to throw these things in your face to kind of like make you feel less than, right? Some of them even go to deeper extents to say a whole bunch of shit, right? But this is one of the things that they do. If she has this quality, that's another strike against her. And the last thing is put her hands on you, right? Or talk to you a certain way, right? Like some chicks, they feel like they can just talk to you a certain way. They feel like they can get in your face, be clapping and doing all of that. And I got this thing where I say, like, if you're prone to talk with your hands and put your hands on my face, then you're more prone to hit somebody and put your hands on them, which is really the main one that I want to talk about. Put your hands on. So a lot of women believe that they can put their hands on men and men cannot put their hands on them. I'm telling you, if you're dealing with a woman who has this mindset, who has this mentality, who feels like she can get loud and get crazy and clap her hands and poke you in the face and do these things, this is like the last straw. Like, you probably don't even need the other 11 if she does, the other 10 if she does this, right? Like, you probably don't even, but yeah, definitely, if she feel like she could put her hands on you, you should definitely get rid of her. So let me know what y'all thoughts are in the comment section. Like, comment, subscribe, share, and stay blessed. Peace.